Hello everybody, I'm Jaime here from evilwarnings.com and we're doing the first interview ever in the history of the website, which it hasn't been really that long, like a year. But anyway, here we are and we are with I don't know if I should call him a legend again without him blushing and getting all red.
Yeah.
But
This brown, right?
Uh-huh.
I can't blush.
But I'm here with Jorge Herrera from Despise You, Nomads, Antichrist, Demon Core, Dracula's
Curse.
Curse. Any other bands?
That's it. Hopefully no more.
There
Hopefully
is-
no more.
I know there is another one, but I don't really know how to pronounce the name. Is Ruptures?
Ruptures.
Ruptures?
Ruptures.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I was actually looking at a very cool YouTube video, some kind of like a live session.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And it's something.
We played in it's this session was recorded at the Dial. The Dial's in Marietta on
Uh-huh.
the way to San Diego. And a friend of ours, Wayne Ballard, recorded it along with the rest of the people that run the Dial, and that was really cool. He actually just like made a tape.
Uh-huh.
He made a tape mix down of the whole thing, and then he put out the video. And Ruptures has gone on to like make a lot of material,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't no longer play with them,
Uh-huh.
and I'm not quite aware if they're still playing or not.
all
Yeah,
right. Okay.
but they were still going on tour for the last release
Mhm.
that I was a part of, and that was called Deca.
Uh-huh.
Deca. That's some of my favorite stuff. I
Uh-huh.
feel like the band actually finally realized what kind of sound they were going for on
Mhm.
that release. So if
Yeah.
anybody wants to listen to Ruptures, I recommend they listen to Deca first.
Mm.
But also my more favorite release that Ruptures made is called Dead Bloom. It's more of an EP. There's only I think 3 or 4 songs on there,
Mhm.
if I'm not mistaken, but they're more raw.
Mhm.
They're not so cleaned up,
Okay.
and there's a lot more layering with the ambience on guitar and effects,
Uh-huh.
but it's still kind of raw in that, I do some blast beats in there sometimes, but then I do other stuff.
Mhm.
That band was just that band is a band where I was able to do anything I want. I
Yeah.
could go anywhere from like a dance beat to
Mhm.
just something like a total blast beat,
Uh-huh.
or just like more of a hardcore beat. I could do anything I'd like.
Yeah, they
Basically.
remind me a little bit kind of like Russian circles, kind
Russian
of like
circles.
because they
Okay.
like a little bit experimental. They sound more like chunky,
Yeah.
not like that. Pa 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 pa. It's-
That's funny. That's the second time that I've gotten that reference. I was with Mason, a friend of mine who lives in Corona, and we were at his house. I think it was yesterday, and
Uh-huh.
he made that
Is it
made
the
that
same?
comparison. But a lot of people also tend to reference it to Refused,
Uh-huh. Okay.
and yeah, I love that band.
All right,
That's
but
some of my favorite stuff.
We need
yeah.
to do our homework with that band then. All right, so let me go and see and continue with these questions. So the first one is, I know you live in La Puente, and
right.
did you grow up in LA? Were you born here? What's your story? How are you here? Why?
Well, my parents are both from Mexico. My mom's from Ensenada and my dad's from León, Guanajuato. But I was born here. I was born in Montebello, and then I was raised in La Puente most of my life. I was living first in East LA, but I
Uh-huh.
was like 1 or 2, so I don't
Uh-huh.
really count. That doesn't really count to me.
Uh-huh.
I moved to La Puente, and I went through most of my schooling there, and then I just kind of kept branching out as soon as I got in contact with just bands in high
Bands, yeah.
school,
Mhm.
and I just I just continued playing in bands, and I was always trying to look for people to play with that constantly wanted to play,
Mhm.
and it was weird. At first, I didn't have a drum set. My dad, I had to work. I had to work with my dad, and I had to buy the shells
Uh-huh.
on their own. my dad wasn't aware that when you buy a drum set, you buy the cymbals and the shells separate, or you could buy the whole thing together, but he wasn't aware of how much it cost as well, because it's very expensive. So I ended up playing on shells, just toms, for a whole year, and then the following Christmas I got cymbals. I was finally prepared to join a band sometime in I'd say like my sophomore year, and I just kept playing with different people. I got into bands in high school, and then I just kept branching off, and I wasn't really trying to play a specific style or stick into some specific scene. Most people already develop some kind of scene or some kind of taste for what they primarily like to hear. You know, some people are into rap and hip hop, or some people are into more rock and punk earlier on. I was like basically open to play with anybody as long as they wanted to consistently play, because I'd have a lot of flakes too. A lot of guys who are like, oh, 1 minute we want to practice, but next minute I'm too tired, or like
let's go and smoke some weed.
Let's go and smoke some weed
waste time
and waste time, like. So I just kept playing and kept trying to find these people that I can connect to with the most, that work with my work ethic towards how I like to play music. And my idea of it is just trying to just do everything perfect. I mean, to my ability. I enjoy that. That's fun for me.
It sounds
that's
pretty good.
That's a lot of fun for me. A lot of people are into like the partying and the traveling aspect. I legitimately love creating music, and I love being able to find other people who have that same drive like I do. But that drive has taken me as far as like playing with more than 10, 15 different groups and over 50 different people. And so in doing that, I feel like I've outlasted those groups. I feel like I've outlasted those groups. So instead of finding that group of guys that I wish I could, that I can say like I've played with them forever since I started playing music, I had a different route than everybody else. Like I had to play with a lot of different people, strangers sometimes, people I barely knew, but I never wanted to stop. And so that's why a lot of people tend to kind of recognize what I'm doing as well right now, like in ACXDC and Despise You and Nomads, along with the fact that they've invited me to play themselves, and me also following what they've done since I started collecting records, like Despise You stuff. Like I was collecting the records, and like they invited me to play, and like those two, I always have to think twice, like wow, like this is really cool, like I get to play with like people that I was listening to, that I was collecting their records.
So
like,
you're already answering a lot of my questions, but for example, now that you're talking about Despise You, like how did that happen? Because I play drums and they didn't call me. And I'm not bad.
Okay.
How did that happen?
So
Get a little bit closer to me.
Oh yeah, no worries. So
Let's see.
So my girlfriend, basically, Alba, she has done merch. She has sold merch and helped Despise You sell merch. And they were just in need of a drummer, and they had called her and asked her by chance, because she has been seen hanging out with me and like ACX DC sometimes, and they weren't aware that I was her boyfriend. So they asked her by chance, do you know, could you get in contact with the drummer for ACX DC, because we feel like he plays in a lot of bands, and like we're in need of a drummer, like he might be able to help us out. And she was just like, yeah, I know that guy. That guy's my boyfriend. So
you were already playing with
I was already playing with ACXDC. Yeah, I was already playing with them, but they established that connection because they found out that I was her boyfriend, and that's why they realized that we were hanging out a lot. And then that's when they personally gave me a call, and they just basically asked me if I was the person who recorded on ACXDC's Second Coming release, and I told them I was, and we just set up a day to jam, and I met Phil Vera, and I met Chris Elder, and I met Cynthia Nishi, and I met Adam Greenwood, and everybody's like really down to earth people. Everybody gets along. Nobody has egos. It's really easy to be in that band. I absolutely love hanging out with that band. I have cousins that remind me so much of them, and it's really chill when we're on tour. No one gets into arguments. We just literally have a good time, and we're all just really humbled to just be traveling wherever we're at and be received by people like we are, and then just to play shows, just to play shows on behalf of like Despise You's music is always humbling for myself. But that's how I met them.
Good, but what you're saying now, I'm not even asking the questions that I wrote.
Sure.
But anyway, it's funny that you're saying like, yeah, people get along and all that, and it's like, I was just like thinking how funny it is that there are all these kind of like big metal bands, and they have all these stupid arguments. They break up because somebody ate their freaking sandwich or stuff like that. And then you see these kind of bands that they tour a lot. The music is super intense, and I get the feeling for what you're saying that it's more like a family.
It's
if
more like
you're
a
an
family,
asshole, you can play blast beats or whatever, but you won't be part of that band. You need to be part of the family.
Yeah, you definitely need to be a part of that family. A lot of the bands that I play for, despite like the fact that we play very aggressive music, just really have a sense of family, because we also pride ourselves on the fact that we're normal people. You know, we're not just some like
Steel Panther.
outspoken Steel Panther rock star, which are awesome, by the way, because I do like them too. I listen to their music, but like, yeah, we pride ourselves on being normal people, everyday people that still play in bands that have like jobs, that have some of them have kids, some of us have like girlfriends. We have just regular people getting together and just really enjoy people's company, and we just love playing music, and that's our outlet to be aggressive, and
So I guess because the style is real. It's a style that it talks about society, it talks about feelings, it talks about government, so
talks about your surrounding, where you grew up, the environments you grow up in.
So that's, for example, one of the reasons that I like bands from LA, because I think they really talk more about LA than any other band from any other city.
Their environment,
it's very, I think this city kind of affects you a lot, I think.
It definitely does, and it's because of definitely the variety. There's just so many different people, there's so many different walks of life, and there's just every place you turn, you find yourself like amongst different people, and you just conversate and you connect, and like you could go anywhere from like, I don't know, you could go anywhere from like, I mean, every city has their rich area. Every city has like a ghetto area. Every city has like an urban area. But it's just, I don't know. It feels like it's very open-ended for anybody to visit these areas, and anybody that really comes from these areas just really knows them, and as much as you may like or dislike areas of your city, and there is still that sense of like it really is where you come from, and you have to enjoy where you're at, to an extent, wherever it is that you live, and that's I feel like a lot of people have a lot of pride in LA, that live in LA regardless of where it is that they live, and
there is a lot to enjoy.
There's a lot to enjoy as well.
For example, for me, just basically like
the weather,
food, like being able, I don't know, in Spain, I never met anybody from El Salvador.
Yeah.
I didn't know what pupusas were.
Okay.
I didn't know what tamales were.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So, and I like the
variety.
Yeah. I like to meet people. I like to eat different food.
That's another thing. Just cultures are constantly meshing here. You could have pupusas, like you could have like authentic like sushi or Asian food. You can have like, I don't know, you can have like Peruvian food. You could have like so many different styles of food, like you can mesh with so many different people. You can talk to a lot of different people and get to know a lot of different things. And that's like the melting pot is LA, definitely.
So you heard it, move here. Anyway, let's continue. what do you think now? I think that nowadays there is kind of like a cool scene going on, like with Alex Estrada from Silver Snakes.
Alex Estrada.
He's been recording a lot of good bands, or
Yeah.
with Taylor Young from
Taylor
Nails that you recorded.
Both engineers I know personally, and both I've had like the pleasure of working with more than one occasion. Alex, I feel like I've known him like probably ever since I started recording in bands. I've probably known Alex Estrada, but he has kind of like seen me like kind of grow.
Develop
Every time I've gone to the studio, I feel like there's a sense of like understanding that I have developed a little bit, and it's kind of nice that someone recognizes that, because that also feels like, I don't know, I feel comfortable. I feel like it's somebody who I know, like who I can talk to. I can tell all my mistakes or how I can do things better, you know. Taylor, I got the chance to meet for the first time when I recorded with Nomads, but then I also recently recorded with him.
Oh, the Nomads, the 7-inch is recorded.
Our recently released self-titled 7-inch
That's
is my first recording with Nomads, and it was recorded by Taylor.
Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
and we're just working with him is really simple. Like he just really knows like how to capture this specific sound. Like it's bottom line is like his overall tone is just it's just really low endy, and it's more, there's something more rock about it that you don't get from like really nice cleaned up sounding recordings, and it's something that he captures, I feel personally, like on his own. It's his style, and I enjoy it very much so, and I got the pleasure of working with that and him as well, again with ACXDC for our new release this coming July.
That I have it here.
Yeah.
I think is on the, when is it coming out? June 24th.
June 24th?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, yeah. It should
think
be
so.
out July. Yeah, we already got test presses in. We're happy with the quality. It's definitely some of the band's best work up to date. Just because we've kind of like, that band, it broke up like earlier on, I think, not quite sure if it was 2004, sometime in 2004. It broke up for several years. It got back together sometime in 2009, and I could be wrong, but the band, upon getting back together, was really like trying to recreate sounds that it used to have. It wasn't sure if it should like just move forward and try something different, and I feel like this record is a perfect example of the band just finally just forgetting kind of like what it used to sound like, and just moving forward, and really like not having any boundaries with any songs, any songs or song structures, or any type of boundaries whatsoever. Like, we literally are writing whatever we want to write for the first time in that band, without thinking of what it used to sound like at all, which is really nice, because we get to move forward finally, like, and just progress, because there's been so many times where we've been kind of feeling like contained by our own sound, like wow, it doesn't sound like this. We feel like we're straying too far off, but now it's just kind of like we don't care anymore. We just want to like just we want to play. We've changed as people, and like and naturally it's changing, and naturally it's changing on its own, and it's definitely some of our most brutal work up to date. I'm really excited.
The first song, Decibel, and like
I
huge.
can't wait.
I mean, like the sound. Not that before it sounded bad, but now it's just like
it's so brutal, and it's a lot of it is our writing with our bass player Jeff, and then our guitarist Aldo, just coming together and just like,
sorry, who's the one that also plays in Nomads?
Aldo,
okay.
yeah. Aldo Felix is the bass player for Nomads. He also plays guitar in ACX DC. Yeah, so we play a lot together. We play a lot of shows together, and We yeah, we work. We were yeah. He's like somebody that I've gotten to know better, and who I connect with musically, because he just really cares about being in a band. You know, he doesn't like he's not some like egotistical guy. You know, just he's really down to earth. But it's really cool because in ACXDC there's like a lot of different people. You know, there's a distinct contrast. You get different characters like Jeff, my bass player. He's into like a lot of hip hop, and he's like into like a lot of other like rap and like R&B and all this, all sorts of stuff. And then all those more into like hardcore and like metal, and then like Sergio's like more into like punk and grind and a lot of other stuff. We're into so much. Our guitarist Brian, he's into like a lot of like grunge, and like he's into like sludgier metal and stuff and experimental stuff. And I'm kind of like into all of it myself personally. I'm just into all of it.
So you're happy with that because it's like,
so I'm happy with
bring it.
Yeah, there's so many different people in ACXDC, and writing definitely like shows that, and this record like definitely shows that, because like there's a really nice blend of like hardcore and like punk and metal and grindcore, and yeah, there's so many different elements. I'm really excited about it. I'm like super thrilled about it.
So something that I wanted to ask you, do you think you really need to have something special in you to be some kind of like Powerviolence, grindcore musician? I'm not even going to say drummer, because very short songs, a lot of intensity. It's not easy. Even people think those are just like blasts. That they are like kind of like improvising. It's not. It's how can you keep up with like Nomads, Antichrist, Despise You, very short songs, the three bands kind of. So how do you keep your brain fresh to shit?
Well, it's different songs, you know, short songs, a lot of intensity. I personally, I constantly practice on my own, even without bands. So I play drums like 3 to 4 times a week, if not more. That's away from bands, and that's plus practices with bands. So that helps a lot too. I'm constantly playing, so I don't play anymore so much more to like make perfect, but to make permanent, to keep my ability, you know. But I'm also always learning as well. But you know, just I try to run too whenever I get the chance to. I run. Good. You know, I want to start making some time to work out more, but you know, I try to do that. You know, I try to like just stay in like some kind of a good physical condition and do it, but also just I've been playing for such a long. I've been playing that style for such a long time. I'm so familiar with it. Like I've just sat there. You know, I'm trying to relate this in a very general term, a very general perspective, so all musicians can understand. But as a drummer, I'm going to relate as a drummer. I mean, like I'll sit there and I'll just go as fast as I can, and it's boring. It's very boring to people. But I'll just sit there, you know, with my foot or my hands, and I'll just try to pick up speed as fast as I can. Try not to be as tense, you know. And it's a lot of boring work that everybody wants to skip. And, you know, everybody wants to get to the intense playing show. And like, it's honestly like that's what I feel like has allowed me to keep playing for over 10 years the same style of music that I do, and I feel like I'm still capable of playing it. You know, I recently turned 27 last week, and so
looking good.
And I appreciate that. And like my singer and like my bassist, and you know, we're like in our late 20s and like early 30s, and like we're like, some of them are just like, oh, like fuck, we're getting old and stuff like that. And then we're seeing like older bands like put it down just as brutal as younger bands. So it's like there's no excuses. There's no excuses.
Look, I don't know how old Brutal Truth are, but
like that's a perfect example of guys that like just totally put it down and like they, you know, it just goes to show like if you really enjoy playing music, you're gonna do what you have to do to continue to play. You know.
So basically, I guess it's no secrets, a mix of
there's no secret. It's
practice, work hard,
it's just drive,
and
it's just a lot of genuine drive. You know, when you want to sit down or whatever, you could and take a load off. You could be practicing. You could be working on another song. You know, you could be running. You could be like, I don't know, working on some aspect of your music. You could be promoting it. You could be like helping other friends like help put their stuff out, or go out and like attend shows and just like support. There's, you know, not only physically, but there's so many other ways like you can just continue to just push music in general. You know, there's no real secret to it. You just gotta keep doing it. You just gotta keep doing it for as long as you like to do it. Yeah,
it doesn't come out the first day.
It definitely doesn't come out the first day, or it comes out completely terrible.
Do you eat bananas? I just remember this story that
So
they
it's
say to
bananas.
blast. If bananas are very good for blasting.
Is that so? That's,
I've heard.
That's a definite new one for me. You want to know what I do? I eat oranges when I'm on tour. Like I'll buy like 2-3 oranges, and you know, I'll have that when I'm like sitting in a van forever, instead of snacking, you know, on like junk all the time at gas stations or whatever, or like at convenience stores. And like I try my hardest to like at least have that, you know. I don't know if it makes me better at blasting, but it makes me feel better. It makes me feel less like mush whenever I get out of the van to like play. You know, because sometimes you just gotta like drive 9 hours to a show, get there, and then you play last, so you gotta wait like 2 or 3, 4 more hours, and then you go on. And by that time, like you're probably like you're burnt. So like you gotta do little things, even like, you know, like have bananas or have oranges. Those little things matter, you know, like, you know, like they really do matter. They make a difference. And you know, the more I get older as a drummer, as someone who plays Powerviolence, and as someone who values their ability, like I definitely try to like just have whatever like healthy snack or anything I could do to just like kind of like get me off of like this slump. I'll have.
All right, that's good. Okay, let me see. You answered basically kind of all my questions. So this one is kind of interesting. I think for me, like, do you think, even though there is in internet, and what would you say? Do you think there is a difference between Powerviolence and grindcore?
Do I think?
What's your idea? Because there are genres that kind of...
That's a great question.
Blend.
There's a very there's some gray area sometimes, but you know, everybody has music is such a opinionated based thing. But in my opinion, I feel that Powerviolence, there's something more just harder and raw about Powerviolence. A lot of people, I feel like in my definition as a drummer of a blast beat, to me, is like this thing where you're pounding as hard as you can on your foot, pounding as hard as you can, and like just pounding as hard as you can with your hands, but you're almost pounding so fast that it kind of sounds like grinding. It's the speed of grinding. Grinding is supposed to be super fast, but I've noticed that the faster, as a drummer who's like constantly learning, the faster you grind, the lower your sticks are to the drums. So it's kind of softer a little bit. So to me, the difference is that Powerviolence is just more harder. It's faster. It's not faster. It's about the same speed, but it's just played more harder. You'll hear a drummer just beat the drums. Like when you're focusing on the grindcore band, you'll see a guy who stays stationary. He'll just be like this, and yeah, it'll sound cool and it'll sound really technical, but it kind of lacks a little bit of the rawness sometimes. To me as a drummer, as somebody who's like just going at it really hard, you could see that they're hitting as hard as they can, and they're like it's coming out of their body, rather than somebody who's just stationary and who's just kind of like an octopus, just like you know, like both styles I appreciate a lot, but I'm starting to realize the kind of drummer I am personally when it comes to like playing that style of music. And yes, I do use like elements of grindcore and stuff, more so in this new ACX DC record, but I still I still like feel that I can recognize the Powerviolence band because they just play that much more harder. The volume is hard because they're just playing
To me
intense.
it's kind of same. I feel like there is some more punch
It punches more.
and like and this kind of like some type of like intro, so more like hardcore-ish.
It is definitely
Parts.
more. It's definitely like a variety of Powerviolence is definitely like a variety of all extreme styles, but it's definitely like the most apparent one is obviously that it's still like punk. It's still raw and punk. Grindcore I feel has more of a like it can have some punk elements in it, but I feel as a drummer I see more metal elements in it, and I still, like I said, I still appreciate both, but that is what the difference is to me personally.
Because it's kind of shady sometimes. Like
Yeah, it's hard to tell sometimes. It's hard to tell. I mean, so many people, like, you know, I'll hear somebody comment on like a drummer's blast, and they'll think that it's a grind, or vice versa. Wow, he's grinding, but it's like really slow but hard, and I consider that to be a blast. So it just depends. It really depends. Like, it really depends on the person. It really depends on the person's opinion. It's such an opinionated based thing. But just as long as it's extreme, short, and really like just short, fast, and loud. Like that's the best way. It's the best way. It's
Short,
the best way.
fast and loud,
It's
yeah.
definitely the best way. Yeah.
All right.
Short, fast, and loud.
So let me see. For example, something more tricky. Some more tricky questions.
Sure.
So, what do you think? What do you think about the Ringworm show at Casa Jimenez? What do you think about the extra musical activities? All the effing fights happening that night. Girls fighting, guys fighting, inside, outside.
Yeah.
What's your opinion about that as a musician that plays an aggressive style?
Well, definitely, as much as like I focus on music, I mean, like it is also like a definite place to like focus on your emotion, and obviously it's like a hardcore show, and you know, people come to it because they can just like let go, they can release, and a lot of like along with that just that environment, you know, comes, you know, like sometimes you just get people that are just, you know, really shitty. Sometimes they just, you know, people are out to cause trouble, and it happens everywhere. It happens everywhere. It doesn't even just happen in like, you know, at shows. It can happen anywhere. But you know, obviously we're at the peak of just harnessing just raw emotion at a hardcore show, or like at a punk show. And so like obviously everybody feels the tension, and like sometimes, you know, like people get into fights for all sorts of reasons. You know, some people cannot understand that, you know, like it's a place where we're supposed to share each other's like company, and just kind of relate and just kind of accept one another and our emotions, and just the fact why we're there, just the fact why we're there, and how we're getting into music, and what's driving us to like it. And you know, there's always those people that want to like just pit and hardcore dance, and then there's these people that just go in there and they totally want to start a fight because they got hit by somebody, but it's like perfectly normal, you know. But everybody thinks that's, you know, like there's some confusion there. Like if you definitely don't want to get in a fight, or you definitely don't want to get hit by other people that are just just dancing, like you could just, you could just chill on the side. You could go outside. You could support the band and just watch from afar. But
Like me, that I was hiding on stage.
hey, hey, you can say it's hiding, but regardless, it just depends. Sometimes you lose focus of a band too when you're dancing.
Yeah, because
sometimes you lose focus.
yeah, I'm not really like a super active when it comes to shows. I like to.
Yeah.
I feel it. And
You
I
feel
get like
the energy.
goosebumps,
Yeah.
and I like to see the
like to
people play
see.
and like.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you can. It's very easy to lose focus
Mhm.
in the energy while you're like dancing and you're getting really into it, or you're like pitting, and some people like to watch from afar, and that's just as fine as well.
Mhm.
But yeah, there's also a lot of like aside from the misinterpretations in like the pitting, there's also just a lot of different people that just, like I said, go and they try to cause trouble. Some people like in like it can easily be like I feel like someone, like it was as easy as someone was like hitting on someone's girlfriend or something. Just typical stuff.
Yeah, it happens at
Total typical stuff.
supermarkets, bars.
It happens at bars, it happens at clubs, it can happen at shows, and some of it sometimes can be from like hardcore affiliated groups too. Like there's just people that just they start communities, and like people, sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between like somebody who's in like a gang and then somebody who's into like hardcore, because they're all like they're all like tatted to the face, they're all like crazy looking, and sometimes people are just into music and they just want to look really aggressive, and then sometimes it's really easy to just walk down the street and get like hit up by like a gangster, and they ask you like, where are you from, or like whatever, and then like like a lot of my friends who are like that, like Mike, the singer of Nomads, he's a crazy guy, like he's all tatted down, but he's legitimately a crazy person, so he loves that shit. And like there's plenty of people that'll try to start trouble because they they'll think that like so and so's a part of a gang, or so and so's like like coming to their side of town, or blah blah blah, just typical stuff. So it's really easy for that to happen, like in a like hardcore environment as well. Punk show, it's that's there's always going to be fights at shows because it's aggressive music. It wouldn't be the style of music that it wouldn't be like hardcore or punk affiliated if it wasn't aggressive. And as much as like that shouldn't happen, like I mean a lot of people should like promote the fact that it is still a place where we can like we're supposed to like share one another's like feelings and like thoughts upon like our our lives outside of like shows and stuff like that, and express ourselves and not really like just beat one another up, but it just happens, to be honest with you. It just happens.
3-4 people together in a room,
Yeah.
something is gonna happen.
Something's
Music
gonna happen.
playing or
Something's
not
gonna
playing or
happen,
whatever.
yeah.
So
It really is. There's no telling where it can happen.
So I think just to finish with a couple of questions, for example, any albums that you think, oh my god, you need to listen to this.
Just it's something that I've personally listened to.
Yeah, something that for you is just like, this is the album. It can be any genre, really. It doesn't really have to be something that you think like, oh, I wish I could have played in that album.
Oh,
Or something like
wow.
that.
Wow, there's many that I'd personally like to play on, but
Just two, for example.
two. Probably I'd have to say, let's see here. I mean, I normally like my favorite, one of my favorite bands is AFI. It's so far off, like Powerviolence and like and what it is that I like do, but it was kind of like my gateway band into knowing about like hardcore and like all the subgenres that come with it, and punk. And I mean their latest release is like is just I enjoy it too, because like I, as much as I love playing like aggressive music, I also like love playing like other styles, and like I really love what they've done with their new record. Like it's still really dark. It's really dark in comparison to what they last put out, which is really poppy. But yeah, their stuff's really good. I really love simplicity too, like in drumming, like Adam Carson in that band. Like it's really cool how I hear like elements of like punk, but then I post punk, and then like I hear elements of like other stuff like new wave, and like yeah, it's really cool. I really appreciate that a lot too. But then it's really hard. I'm so focused on like what it is that I'm doing too. I haven't really like had a good listen to anything out there that's been really like catching my eye. Other than that, a band that actually was introduced to me by Jeff, my bass player from ACX DC. Like they're a really good band. Like they're really raw. Their songs are super simple, but they're catchy too. And that's something that can be easily lost in Powerviolence too, because it's so short. The songs are so short. You try to fit in as much as you can, and sometimes you can't remember certain parts because there's so many different parts. But Extortion from Australia. From Australia, yeah. I've never really listened to them until he turned me on to them, but they're just a really, really good blend of like Powerviolence, like hardcore and punk to me. They're really, really good. Yeah.
All right, so I'll have to check them out too.
They haven't really put out anything new to my knowledge, but it's just like I recently got turned on to them, and they're great. They're really raw.
So I'll check them out. Extortion.
Yeah.
And I think the last question. So far, all over the world where you've been, another place that is better than LA, if that exists.
If that exists.
If that exists.
You know what? To be honest with you, I can't. I've been to a greater portion of like Europe. I'm gonna get the opportunity with Despise You to see Southeast Asia in September. This July, I get to go to Europe again for a month with ACX DC. I'll probably revisit some places I've never been to, but I've been to Canada, and I honestly I love how different each place is. I like it because it's not like Southern California.
Yeah.
But I love coming home. I love coming home. I love having this weather. I love having a variety of people to like talk to. I love being able to be very cultured and just constantly be open-minded to things. And just I admire each individual place because of the fact they're different. But I love
you
home.
Come back here.
But I love home. I love home. I love Southern California.
All right, but just like a quick reminder, you're gonna play at the Redwood.
That's right.
I have it here, 31st of May.
That'll be with Nomads and ACXDC as well. Yeah.
And also Coke Bust.
Yeah, and Coke Bust. Oh my God.
And
yeah.
a couple.
They're really great.
Actually, I was listening to the word. It's Band for Life, Syntax. Have you heard those guys?
Syntax.
Kind of.
They're really good.
Gridlink, Crazy.
Yes, that was a good reference. Yeah, they're really good friends of mine actually. There's some friends that are affiliated with this group when I was barely starting out music. Some are from like this band called ARM, Apathetic Ronald McDonald. It's more of like it's weird. It's kind of like a dancey Powerviolence type band, but they're really good friends. They play in that band, and some other friends too from another band called Bastard Ass. They kind of like just came together and they formed Syntax, and Syntax is really good. You guys should check them out. It's just like It's like sometimes it's Powerviolence, sometimes it's like kind of like you reference to Gridlink. Sometimes it's like grindy, but it's like kind of like it just has like dissonant chords, dissonant like ugly sounding chords. Sometimes experimental, a little bit. Yeah.
And I was
so-
listening today. Is Generación Suicida is playing that show,
Oh yeah.
and it's not grindcore. It's not like super
No,
heavy, but it
more-
reminds me a lot of 80s kind of 80s music in Spain, which was kind of more influenced by like The Cure, kind of like
Yeah.
dark, Joy
It's-
Division.
It's darker. It's
Uh-huh.
darker, like post-punk affiliated stuff. Those are actually some pretty, like, those are some pretty like good. Yeah, that's just a great band. That's a great band. Like I got the chance to listen to it recently because one of my friends turned me on to them, and yeah, they're that's another thing too. Like I love Southern California because there's so much variety with the shows. Like, you know, we'll have like traditional punk bands play with grindcore bands, with like Powerviolence bands, with hardcore bands, with so many different types of bands. Like it could be just about anything. Yeah, like, and that's what's really cool too, because you just bring different people together by doing that. But yeah, that's a perfect example. Them being on this bill as well. Yeah.
I really, I don't know, they kind of like got my attention, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
well, it's like, oh, it reminds me of Spain in the 80s.
cool.
But
Yeah.
I was born in the 80s, so I was a kid
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah.
All right, so
awesome.
I think I don't have any more questions so far. So,
Okay.
bueno, pues thank you for wasting your time being here.
Wasting my
It
time.
got a little bit dark, so I don't know if maybe people are going to be able to see the the image. But thank you, Jorge, for being here.
Thank
Good
you.
luck with the tour.
Appreciate it.
And again, the 31st of May at 3 p.m. at the Redwood Bar, Coke Bust. I always say Antichrist Demon Core. I don't know how to pronounce it that fast. The ACX.
However you like, you know. It's kind of like long. It's kind of long to write out. So, I mean,
So anyway, 31st of May, you need to come to downtown LA, Redwood Bar.
yeah.
So Jorge, thank you very much,
Thank you. I appreciate it.
and I'll see you on the 31st. Thank you.